Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Anna, and this is the start of another weekly reading vlog. This is going to be another very realistic week in my life. We're going to see how much I can actually read while living a life and working full time 9 to 5 corporate America grind. I will usually have a physical book and an audiobook going at the same time. Physically, I prefer to read fiction, and then on audio, I prefer nonfiction. So, this week's physical book is going to be You Exist Too Much by Zaina Arafat. This is a book that I truthfully don't know too much about. I picked it because of a TBR jar prompt, and I originally purchased it because it was a book club book that I ended up not reading and not going to that meeting. So I'm excited to get into this one. I kind of love going into a book blind. What I do know about this book is it follows a Palestinian American woman, and it seems to be going back and forth from her childhood to present day. She's a queer woman, so it's navigating her queer relationships. She's a DJ. So that's pretty cool. My partner's a DJ, so we love some queer DJ representation. That's what we need more of in this world, right? Is some more DJs. The cardigan is coming off. I was cold and now I'm hot. So the other book that we're going to be listening to, I think, will be a very good pair with this one, and that is Fire in Every Direction by Tarek Bakoni. Similar to You Exist Too Much, I had never heard about this book until I was scrolling through my library app. But what I understand of this book, it's about a queer Palestinian man who was born in Jordan, now lives in the UK, and it's a memoir about his life as a queer man and sort of that queer coming of age, but it also looks back at the lives of his grandparents and his parents. So it's kind of a multi-generational memoir. So all that to say, I'm excited to read this book and report back with my thoughts. So the plan for today is it is currently 11:45. I have an appointment to get new tires in 30 minutes. So we're going to go get some new tires in my car and spend $600. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to start some of You Exist Too Much, and I will report back with my thoughts, I'm sure. Right, we're now in my kitchen. The lighting in here is not great. I have a pretty small kitchen, but that's okay. I'm here because I'm preparing some tofu for my dinner this evening, which I'm very excited about. I'm making like a little snack plate with goat cheese and potatoes and like pickle brine tofu. I'm just very excited. So I'm cutting up the tofu right now. We're going to marinate it in some pickle juice, and I'm hoping that it turns out good. I'm sure that it will. While I cut up the tofu and get the marinade ready, I wanted to talk to you all about my initial thoughts to You Exist Too Much. I started reading it at the tire shop, and oh my goodness, I've never gotten out of a discount tire faster in my life. It literally took like 20 minutes. So I read maybe like 20 pages there and then another 20 pages when I got home. I'm about 40 pages through now. I think that's enough to have to have some thoughts, because in those 40 pages, there is so much going on. Like, we're dealing with our main character who is in a relationship. She has a live-in girlfriend, and her and this live-in girlfriend met in an eating disorder recovery ward. And we already know that they've had an on and off again relationship. So, pretty clear it's a little bit of a tumultuous, I would say, relationship. There's a lot of things that I think both of the women are dealing with. And in addition to that, we have flashbacks to our main character's childhood. She, I think, grew up between DC and Bethlehem. Like, there are some parts where she's younger, where she's in DC, and then other parts where she's a little bit older, like 12 years old, and then she's in Bethlehem. But I think she's kind of going back and forth throughout her life. Right now, currently in present day, she's living in New York City. So a lot of different settings in this book, but it's interesting because in the flashbacks to when she was younger, it seems like there's a lot of questioning of gender. In the very opening scene, she is 12 years old. She's walking through Bethlehem, and there's a comment made about her body. She's like wearing shorts, so she goes and changes into her uncle's jeans and starts to question, like, why is it okay for him to show his legs because he's wearing her shorts instead? So why are these shorts okay on him but not on me? But at the same time, she feels very comfortable and very much like herself wearing his pants and like being in this more masculine outfit. And there's another scene later on where we're seeing her at about 3 or 4 years old, where she's like playing with shaving cream, and she heard that if you shave, the hair grows back thicker, so she wants to shave the cream off her face, but she knows that she shouldn't, which I think is interesting. I'm intrigued to see where that goes in the book. Already, this book is very messy. I think it's going to turn out to be like a mid 20s coming of age book, which is kind of what I expected. But again, the relationship is already crumbling. I think this is just the catalyst for the story. And then going forward, we're going to see how our main character kind of navigates through life post breakup, right? The tofu is all cut up. So now I'm going to make the marinade and then let that marinate for a little bit and probably pan fry this. But then my plan for the rest of the day is to marinate this, get that ready, and then go on a little walk to the grocery store, get some of the other stuff that I need for dinner tonight. And I'll probably start listening to my audiobook while I'm on my little walk. And then what I really want to do is make my dinner and potentially rewatch Killers of the Flower Moon. I just finished the audiobook this morning actually, and I really loved the audiobook. It was like 5 stars. I have never been so on edge for nonfiction like that. So now I want to watch the movie having read the book, but it is like over 3 hours. So I'm going to see how I do on time. It is only 4 o'clock right now. So I think I have plenty of time to like make dinner and watch a 3.5 hour long movie. Like I have nothing else going on today. I have never been more excited for a dinner in my life. We have some grapes that are about to go bad, so I'm eating them. And then I roasted some baby yellow potatoes and carrots in the air fryer. And then this pickle marinated tofu. Oh my freaking gosh. I had a little bite already and it is so good. If you are a tofu enjoyer, and even if you're not, you definitely need to try marinating your tofu in pickle juice. It is so freaking good. And then we have a little wasa cracker, which I've never tried before, with the honey goat cheese and red pepper flakes. And that honey goat cheese is so good. I have never been more excited for a meal. This is the best day of my entire life. We also have ketchup mixed with tapatio. It is now Sunday. I thought I feel like this hairstyle looks cute in real life, but on camera, when you don't see like the hair pulled back, it looks a little weird. I got a shag when I was in Sacramento, and I've had one before, and I find that when I have a shag, it turns into like kind of mushroomy very quickly, but I don't know how to fix that outside of shaving the sides and having like a true mullet. But I don't want a mullet because this is the pattern I've been in my hair journey the past few years is I will get a mullet, shave the sides, shave my head, grow it out, get a shag, don't like the puffy sides, shave the sides, not want the mullet anymore, shave my head. And I don't want to shave my head again. I've shaved my head twice and that was cool, but I think it's enough. Anyway, that was today's tangent. I'm sure there will be plenty more. But it is now Sunday. Today is not necessarily going the way that I thought that it would go in my head. It's about 1:45 right now and I already have all my tasks done for the day pretty much, even though I slept in until like 10:30. I thought today was going to take forever and I'd have no time for myself to do anything, but I've already meal prepped. I edited all of today's video that I'm going to post, and that was really it on my to-do list, but both of those things can take me quite a while. So I still have to upload the video. I'm going to do that. But then after that, the world is our oyster. I was going to go see the Birdcage today at AMC, but I have A-list and it's a Fathom event, so it's not A-list eligible. And I am not about to pay $20 for a movie ticket for something that I can watch for free on Tubi or Canopy. If it was like an independent movie theater, I would be so happy to do that. But I'm already paying for A-list. I'm not going to give them 20 more of my dollars. So we're not doing that. I might go see Obsession. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing is going to the coffee shop or something and just reading there. I'm really craving the coffee I got in last time's vlog that was like espresso with soda water and like orange syrup. That was so good. Let's talk about the books though. So yesterday, while I was walking to the grocery store, I started Fire in Every Direction, and I realized when I got back that I comprehended none of it. I think trying to listen to the beginning of a book, especially at the grocery store, was just not a good idea. So I did restart it this morning while I was meal prepping, and I comprehended it much better. And I'm about an hour and a half in. It's only 7 hours long. I am listening to it on like 1.4 speed, which is pretty slow for me, but I just want to make sure that I'm really taking it in, really understanding it. So far, though, I'm really enjoying the book. It's going back and forth between the author's childhood and his mother's childhood, and we're really able to see the parallels there. We're also getting these moments from Makoni's childhood that are kind of like telltale signs of his queerness, whether it's like crushes on boys or at the very beginning of the book, he really wants this doll, which, of course, straight boys can play with dolls, but, let's all be honest with ourselves. Let's So far, I'm enjoying it. Sorry if you can hear Ladybird purring here. It's head scratch time. Other than that, I did rewatch Killers of the Flower Moon last night, and I had seen it back in 2023 when it was in theaters, and I remember then I had that like high of seeing a movie in theaters. Obviously, it's a very well made film. It's freaking Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone is freaking acting circles around everybody. Okay, even with like this top tier talent, she is amazing. And I think rewatching it, that is the one thing that kind of made me like it a little bit less this go around is knowing now after reading the book that Martin Scorsese changed the script to focus primarily on Ernest and Molly, which are Leonardo DiCaprio and Lily Gladstone's characters. Knowing that he made that decision is totally fine. I think that makes sense for the movie. But then as you're watching it, it feels very much like the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Like we're focusing so much on Ernest, and I wish that we focused just as heavily, if not more heavily, on Molly Burkhart. Because in my opinion, this is her story. If anything, she's the one that's being affected. And it's interesting to think about that with the end scene that Martin Scorsese is in, where it seems like a reckoning of turning these tragedies into entertainment. The scene where it's like him up on the stage and it's kind of silly. But Scorsese is like recognizing that he's doing that and almost critiquing himself in a way and saying that we need to be talking more about Molly. Like in the when he's reading her obituary, he mentions that they don't mention the murders and all of these things. And like it's I think trying to convey that she was a real human being who like really went through these things. But then in the film, it feels like she's almost a background character. Maybe that's a little bit much, but she does not by any means get the same amount of screen time or is given the same amount of character depth that Leonardo DiCaprio is given, which I think is a real shame. I think this rewatch, I will say I liked it quite a bit less than I did when I originally watched it. I still think it's a great movie, and I think it's a lot of credit to Lily Gladstone, what she's able to do and what she's able to convey about Molly in the brief moments that she has. I just wish that we got more Lily Gladstone, I guess is the point I'm trying to get at. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do today. I guess we'll see, and I'll bring you along with me, whatever it is. We're either going to the movies or the coffee shop, or maybe we'll just save some money and stay home. But no matter what, I'll be reading and watching something because those are my two favorite things to do. It is about 8:30 on Monday morning, and I'm here to give you guys an update on You Exist Too Much. I'm about halfway through. Immediately after the last time I checked in with you guys, this book shifted, and now our main character is in a treatment center for her love addiction. But the treatment center itself is really for addictions of all kinds. And reading the back, it does say that that happens, but I think I totally just forgot about that. Like I said, I didn't know much about this book going in, but I am really enjoying this setting. I don't think I've ever read a book in this particular setting, and I'm really enjoying it because it puts our main character in close proximity to people who are very different from herself. Like, she is in a group of four people, including herself, so three other people, and we're getting to know them. She's getting to know their life story, what brought them to this treatment center, and she's very kind of judgmental of everybody uh, in her group. But it's one of those things where you can tell she's very judgmental of them because she's also very judgmental of herself. And her time at the treatment center is also interspersed with vignettes or backstory of the things in her life that brought her, that led her into needing this treatment, like examples of her love addiction. We see the different like relationships that she's had with other people, her relationship with her mother, the things that she's gone through in her life. And then we have these very brief vignettes back to her childhood specifically. Something else that I'm finding interesting about this book is our main character is pretty adamant that she's bisexual, but is also grappling with the fact that while she has sexual attraction to men, she doesn't see herself ever having a fulfilling emotional connection with a man. And I think there's a little bit of grief there. She talks about coming from a culture where getting married to a man is like the peak of a woman's life, essentially something that, your everyone is doing. It's what your family wants you to do. And I think it's an interesting conversation to be having about sexual labels and how we navigate our sexual identities, because if this was my friend, I'd be like, girl, you need to read the lesbian master doc, maybe, which is probably way oversimplifying it. It definitely is. I think it's very, sexuality can be complex. And then if you add in things like, your culture and religion and those expectations of you to it, it just makes it even more muddled. So I'm really enjoying this so far. I've given myself the goal of trying to finish this book today, which is a pretty lofty goal because I do have to work today. So that's going to take up the bulk of my day. But I think sometimes setting myself a goal like that and thinking, okay, I want to finish this book today, I will make choices throughout the day that actually lead to me reading versus going on my phone or something like that, even if I don't finish this book. And aside from working, aside from reading, I think after work today, I want to go to the zoo and walk around a little bit because in the summer, the zoo is open later and I haven't been in a hot minute. So I really want to go. Usually, when I go after work during the week, a lot of the animals are asleep. But I'm hoping if I go like right at 5 o'clock when I get done with work for the day, they will still be awake because the sun hasn't been setting until like 8 or even past that. So hopefully at least like the little orangutans are still awake. Those are my favorite. I have such a parasocial relationship with those little guys, but even if they're going to sleep, we'll still walk around and see what animals we can see and then come home and do our best to finish You Exist Too Much or just read as much of it as we can. It's like I said, it's about 8:30. I have 30-ish minutes until the workday starts, so I'm going to read until then and just chill out and try to mentally prepare myself for the workday ahead. everyone. It is Tuesday. This side of my hair is looking a little crazy because I got home from work and laid in bed for like 15 minutes to decompress, and now it's just doing whatever it wants to do, but that's okay. You're not here for the hair, you're here to talk books, and I have an update for you. I finished You Exist Too Much by Zaina Afarat. Finished this morning, and I have some thoughts. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars, which is funny because when I was thinking about having to talk about this book in this video and telling you all that I gave it 3 stars, I was like, that feels kind of harsh. Like, it's not a bad book. But I'm like, I would have, if I wasn't posting a video, I would have given it 3 stars. Like, 3 stars is not a bad rating. So I'm going to rate it what I would rate it if I was not posting this on YouTube. And that is 3 stars. So, getting into my thoughts, this is Sana Afarat's debut novel. And it does read like a debut novel. And by that, I mean, there is a lot going on here. There are a lot of ideas being thrown at the wall, and I don't think that they're all necessarily as fleshed out as I would have liked them to be. There is a lack of cohesion, I think, in this book, and the ideas that are being presented are very interesting. But keeping in mind that this book is only 260 pages, there's a lot going on, and really the only through line through everything that's happening is that it's all happening to the same protagonist, like the same main character. For example, I think the last time I talked to you guys, I mentioned that this book happens to take place in a like treatment center for various addictions. And so I had assumed, since that happened about 40 pages in, that that would be the bulk of the book. But I think by like page 150 ish, like it goes and she's already out of treatment, and we're just seeing her life after treatment, but then those chapters afterward happen very quickly. A lot of what we're seeing of our protagonist, who I'm pretty sure is unnamed, so apologies if I just keep saying protagonist and main character, but a lot of what we're seeing from her while she's in the treatment center is really just flashbacks to, you know, her life as a kid and the past relationships she's had. And I do think that does a lot to inform why she's seeking treatment, but we don't really see a lot of her internal growth inside of treatment. It feels like just overnight she decides, okay, I'm going to get better. And I am realizing now that maybe my mom was a little bit of a narcissist, and maybe my relationship with my mom and my relationship with love in general is pretty toxic. And my mom kind of informed how I am now. I think that all happens very quickly. Also, I mentioned it before, but I do think that the chapters when she leaves treatment all happen extremely quickly. And it's like we're seeing years of her life within like 50 to 100 pages. And then the book just kind of ends. And that's fine. I don't mind a book just ending. I just wish that there was a little more. It kind of feels like if you were to sit down and have a conversation with a friend that you hadn't seen in a while, and they're like, yeah, I did this, 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 and this, and that's about it. I'm like, if I'm reading a novel, I want to, especially a novel like this that is in first person, that is very internal. It's very like almost stream of consciousness. If I'm reading a book like that, I want to get into the nitty gritty. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know why you're thinking it. I want to see the world through your eyes, and I want to have more of those connections built outside of just what I'm assuming. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense. Again, I don't think this is a bad book. I think there's just a lot going on. We're dealing with things like her anorexia, which is brought up every once in a while, but then it just is kind of thrown to the wayside. We're dealing a lot with her relationship with her mother and how that's informed her current relationships. At the beginning of the book, it's dealing with gender and gender presentation, but then that kind of just is a thread that I don't think really goes anywhere. And I also think at the beginning of the book, it feels like she's questioning her sexuality, and particularly like what role she sees men having in her life. And I think that's another thread that just kind of fizzles out and goes nowhere. So there are a lot of interesting topics that are being brought up in this book, but I don't think they're expounded upon as much as I would have liked them to be. But again, interesting topics and interesting main character to explore. I wouldn't write off Zaina Afrat entirely. Like, if the premise of her next book sounds interesting to me, I might check it out and pick it up. And I think if you're looking for a book about a bisexual woman who is struggling with love addiction and, a tumultuous relationship with her mother, here it is, girl. Like, you will probably enjoy this one to some extent. Now that I finished that one, I am still reading Fires Over Everything. I keep forgetting the name exactly of the audiobook that I'm listening to, but I'm still listening to that one. I haven't picked it up since I last updated you on that. I just haven't had a been in an audiobook listening mood, but still reading that one. I need another physical book though, and I think what I'm going to read is this one. And I think for the sake of YouTube, I'm going to call this the Larry Kramer book. Larry Kramer, if you didn't know, was the founder of ACT UP. And this book is a gay satire following a man in New York City. I believe he's in New York City. At least the opening of the book takes place in Manhattan or talks about Manhattan. But anyway, following a gay man in New York City, maybe looking for love in all the wrong places. So excited to get into this one. I think I am so freaking tired. I woke up like an hour earlier than usual, and it has just thrown like my whole day and my whole mood off. It was also one of those days at work that was very, maybe I would say, socially draining. Like, a lot of people who are usually remote were in office, so it's a lot of socializing. So it's kind of taken it out of me. So I think what I want to do for the rest of the day is just chill and either read if I feel like I have the mental capacity to sit down and read a book, or I might watch a movie. But we'll see. I might do none of those things, and I might just go on YouTube all freaking night, or just mess around and do nothing and go to sleep super early. But we shall see. The next time I have a reading update, I will be sure to tell you. And yeah, I never know how to end these clips and go into the next one. I feel like I'm just like, do, 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 and I just want to keep yapping. I probably will not finish this book by the end of this vlog, but I think I'm going to do a 24-hour readathon this weekend. So if I don't finish it this week, I will definitely finish it this weekend, and then you'll be able to hear my thoughts because you're a dedicated fan and you love me and you want to hear my thoughts on everything. So I don't know about you, but I happen to think the lighting and the angle right now are excellent. It is Wednesday at about 7:45 p.m. I am greasy. I just did my little workout for the day. I need to take a shower, but I felt the need to come on here right now and talk to you about this book. Now, you might be looking and saying, Anna, you barely read freaking anything in there, and you would be correct. But I did want to read out a passage to you because even though I've only read like 10 pages so far last night, I am so compelled by this book. And I just wanted to give you a little taste of the experience of reading the beginning of this book. So, I might end up like having to bleep some of this. We shall see. You'll also probably hear my cat screaming in the background because that's just what she does at this time of night. She's hungry and I need to feed her, and I'm neglecting her. I'm a terrible cat mother. So anyway, here's a short excerpt. Is there indeed a God who would understand such as, baby, I want you to piss all over me? Fred Lemish had never urinated on anything before, except perhaps some country grass late at night when he was drunk and no one was looking. Or let me piss on you. This Fred Lemish had never allowed. Fred stood there helplessly. Why was he inert in a moment requiring action? The guy wasn't bad looking. Should Fred enter or walk away? Or fuck my friend and I'll suck your cum out of his asshole. This suggestion Fred recognized as felching. Was he interested in joining a felcher? Or I could tie you up, or you could tie us up, or either one of us, or anything else your cock desires. The man certainly offered a range of choices. Should Fred? Shouldn't Fred? Are you into shit? Fred should it. Wow, what a great book. This is so freaking Anna coded. Okay, that is my update for today. I am going to shower, eat dinner, read some more, and probably not talk to you because it's already 8 o'clock, which basically means it's already 10 o'clock, which basically means it's already 11 o'clock, which means I need to be asleep. So I will talk to you tomorrow, most likely. Goodbye. I love you. It is Friday, and you're probably like, girl, you didn't talk to us on Thursday. And you would be right. And the reason for that is that this has been a pretty realistic week in my life, which I guess is the goal of this vlog. I barely read anything yesterday. I barely had anything to say. I think my weeks typically go like Saturday, Sunday, I'm living the life. Monday, Tuesday, I'm doing pretty good. And then Wednesday, Thursday, it's just a steep dive the longer that I have to go into the office and the longer that the work week goes on. And usually Fridays are pretty chill. But this week has just been absolutely crazy. I think part of that is I am coming back from vacation ish. My partner and I are long distance. I think I've mentioned that before, but she lives up in Sacramento. So I was there. I took a little bit of time off. We went to San Francisco. Then I came back like a week ago, but I was sick. So it's like I'm trying to work, but I'm sick. So it's like I'm really only giving 50%. So now this week it's catching up from all of that. And then on top of that, it's just everything that could go wrong. It feels like goes wrong, and everybody wants everything from you ASAP. And then when you really take a breath and take a step back, it's like, girl, I work in marketing. No one's going to live or die if I fill out this Excel spreadsheet or not. Like, it is fine. I will get to it when I get to it, and people will still live, and the world will keep turning. So I'm trying to take a breather. It's about like 5 o'clock right now, so I really am just starting to come down from the week that I've had and try to relax and just, I want to have a good weekend. I want to have a very relaxing weekend, and the weekend starts right now. So we're going to start having fun and relaxing now. And part of starting the weekend and starting to relax is filling you guys in on where I'm at with this book by Larry Kramer. So I read about 50 pages so far. I think part of why I haven't been reading this as much is because it's taking a little bit for me to get into. There are so many characters, and so many of these sentences are like a paragraph long, and it's definitely intentional, and there's a comedic element to it. Like, we will have these sentences and they're interrupted by parentheses, and then it's like these big run-on sentences with like comma splices and things like that. I don't know if that's technically what a comma splice is, but anyway, just all these interjections into the sentence to tell you something else about this character and to like have another joke. And I do find it very funny, but to keep track of what is actually happening and what the sentence is actually saying outside of like all the little jokes and the witty banter, I like have to have my mind turned on, which is fine. I don't mind having my mind turned on, but I think with the week that I have been having, it's been hard to come home from work and turn on my brain to read this book. But like I said, I am 50 pages through. I am liking it so far. I think right now we're really just getting introduced to a lot of these characters. There hasn't been too much of a plot yet. We're kind of just going through all of these different people, all these different gay guys, primarily living in New York and getting their background. It does kind of remind me of Vernon Subutex in that way, and that was about a lot of different people. But whereas that book, each chapter followed a different character, this one it's interspersed. And there's also not really any chapters in this book. It's more like just divided up. I don't know if you can see the little square there, but that's how this book is divided up. So I guess those are technically chapters, but it just keeps going and going. And I think that combined with the run on sentences and the constant parentheses, it is like just a wall that's maybe not a wall, but it's an interesting reading experience. I don't know how to necessarily articulate what I feel because I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just overwhelming, but not necessarily in a bad way. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I feel like my brain is fried from this week. Anyway, like I mentioned, it is 5 o'clock now. I got tickets to see Disclosure Day in 70 millimeter at 7:30, so I have about 2.5 hours left to chill, and I'm very excited about that because here in San Diego we do not get 70 millimeter screenings often. And honestly, between you and I, like I probably would have seen Disclosure Day at some point, but that is the reason why I'm going, like pretty much opening night. So I think what I'm going to do for the rest of these couple of hours that I have is clean because I want to get my apartment in a good spot. So I feel very zen. And then until I have to leave, I'm going to read. That is my plan. And then I will come back to you. And that's probably all I'm going to read this week. All I'm going to read today. And then we'll see. We'll tally it all up and see how much did Anna Lene realistically read in these 7 days. The answer is probably not much. Actually, that's not true. I finished like a whole book. So, that's better than it could have been. Well, the week is over. Before I get into how much I read, I wanted to share some brief thoughts about Disclosure Day, which I saw last night. I enjoyed it. It's a Steven Spielberg movie. He knows how to keep your attention, obviously. He knows how to make a captivating movie, obviously. So, those 2.5 hours flew by. I do think that The pacing slows down a lot towards the end, but it's for like a pretty clear reason why, and it's not boring or anything. It's just like, okay, we're really sitting in this moment, which I really like the ending. I think the ending made the whole movie for me. There are a lot of times where it feels very disjointed. I think some of the plotting could have been a little bit better. Like there's just some things that I think we could have left out, like certain romantic partners that both of our leads have, I feel like just took up a lot of wasted space that we didn't need. Uh, just little things like that. But overall, I enjoyed it. It's a very hopeful movie. And it also got me to start thinking. I feel like I have seen so many quote unquote hopeful movies coming out in the past, like this year. And I feel like my first reaction is to be very cynical towards them. Like I think about Disclosure Day, Project Hail Mary, which I liked, but I don't think I'm the biggest fan of. And even I Love Boosters, which I think is maybe one of my favorite movies of the year so far, if not my top favorite. All of them are very hopeful, and I'm wondering what it says about me that my gut reaction is like, yeah, but that's unrealistic. And I think it's that sort of cynicism that I need to work on within myself, and I think maybe a lot of us need to work on. Like, we just get so beaten down by how bad things are in the world that we live in that it's like very difficult to hope for a better future. But I want to have that hope, and I want to connect with other human beings and see that people in general are mostly good. It's just, it's kind of hard right now sometimes, but I think seeing other people connect with these types of movies and this type of even these kinds of stories in general, I think does inspire a sense of hope within me. I think it's just hard because I really don't connect very much with like sentimentality, which I think is part of why I really was not the hugest fan of Project Hail Mary. I still enjoyed it, but it's also it's towing the line between what is overly sentimental to a point where it just feels super unrealistic and what is a level of hope that I think could possibly be attainable? Other than that, I did not read much more yesterday. I read, I think, like 17 more pages of this book by Larry Kramer. Mostly, I just didn't have the time. Like, I got off of work, I cleaned, I had maybe 30 minutes before I left to the movies, and then I got home at like 11 and was tired. So, not much more to say about this one. We're still meeting new characters, discovering new things. I am enjoying it. I am excited to have the time to sit down and like have an hour plus to really delve into this book because I think reading it in like 20-30 minute chunks has been doing it a disservice, and it makes it hard to get back into the writing style every time. I'm sorry too that I did not finish this or even get halfway through and have no solid thoughts to share with you. I also know that I talked about the audiobook I'm listening to, which is Fire in Every Direction, all of one time. And that's because I only listened to it that one time because I just wasn't in a super audiobook mood this week. And I think also that is an audiobook that requires like my full attention. uh and during the work week I just got so busy. So I was going to say no excuses, but it's like nobody's holding a gun to my head saying you have to read this book for this vlog, or like I'm going to finish it at some point. I just didn't finish it this week, and that's fine. So getting into all that, let's tally up what I realistically read this week. As mentioned, got to page 67 in this book by Larry Kramer. In Fire in Every Direction, I listened to 1 hour and 34 minutes, which amounts to about 51 pages. And then I did finish one book, which is You Exist Too Much, and I read 260 pages of this. So in total this week, I read 378 pages. That might not sound like a lot to some people. For me, I think that has become pretty average to even like a higher average, I would say. One of the big reasons why I've been enjoying doing these like realistic reading vlogs is one, I do think in a way they push me to read more. And you might be thinking, girl, you're only reading 378 pages in a week. Are you really reading that much more? And the answer is yes. Because even though I want this to be very realistic and I'm not putting like unnecessary pressure on myself to avoid other responsibilities or other things I want to do just to read, it keeps reading in the forefront of my mind so that when I do have downtime, I pick up a book instead of like going on my phone or going on my laptop and just messing around and losing hours of my day. But I also think I read at a pretty realistic pace. I am probably a little bit of a slow reader, like page per minute, but I also just have a life and I have other hobbies. And I think if you're only reading a book a week, that's like 52 books in a year. That's way more than the average person. And I don't think there's anything wrong with reading more than that, but I think there's nothing wrong with reading at the pace that you read at. I feel like I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, so I'm going to wrap it up because I'm sure this video is already pretty long. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you have an amazing day, amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye.